Um, hey guys, thanks for joining. I just want to have a look at the members to see if there are some new ones. Kilroy, I think you are not one I have seen. Matea's been here. While we are 5 minutes earlier, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to do a quick run through of how this works. So EAX, what it does, it pulls through the top 42 coins from each exchange that have had the most movement. So yeah, basically, if it's got a lot of movement, clearly there's like action, happening. Whereas the Scanner X for the Trend X actually works in the opposite way. So the Scanner X actually works towards finding price that's been compressed and has either been trading sideways or accumulating, and then obviously is in a position where it's going to break into a trend at some point. So they're pretty much two very opposite scanners or ways to look at it. So generally, if you are wanting to try and catch a trend, you would go ahead and look for all the weekly narrows and the daily narrows and so on. And obviously, it's a little bit more difficult to determine which direction they're going in my opinion. But yeah, they always move. It's very accurate. And where the EAX, generally what happens with it is that once it's expanded and done that trend phase, it actually picks it up here and then starts displaying it. So Scanner X, you can catch the trend, and the EAX, you can catch either the short or the long based on the movement. So you can catch it on the outsides, basically. So yeah, two very different and amazing tools that work incredibly. So there's always something to trade. How this works, this based on, like I said, the two top 42 coins, it puts it on and displays it's onto this chart where you've got overbought, oversold, pretty much like your RSI heat map. And it's the difference between this and the normal heat map is it pulls through all the criteria and according to what we use as easy algo tools. So you're looking for the sweeps with the bias there, which is SMCX. You're looking pivots, which is TrendX. RSI divergence bearish here, which is TDIX. Obviously, your percentage on how much it's moved. And then also you got your proximity to your previous, any form of key level basically that it picks up. So the closest key level, it will be what it actually brings up. And then also your proximity to your 50% of fair value gap. So the closest fair value gap it will pick up. And yeah, so generally it's, it works, price always works towards fair value gaps being, in the middle here. And if it moves outside of it, generally it's either moving to another fair value gap or at some point it needs to come back and needs to balance the book. So that's how this works. That's why you'll see like top and bottom. Why you would find tokens here, it would be because the price is currently below the fair value gap that it's currently identifying. And then obviously vice versa. If it's on this side, it means that the price is above the fair value gap. So at some point, the price would have expanded, left imbalances, and you can almost expect the price at some point to return here. So that's how this works. Overbought, oversold is pretty simple, straightforward. It works on a 1 hour time frame. And the beauty about the 1 hour time frame, I must say, is like you do get a lot of action. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is completely oversold or completely, overbought or oversold. It just means that price has to obviously come back down a little bit. So if you had to, for instance, you find tokens in the corners here and you see like 18%, okay, cool. It might, and it's also got an RSI of 78. You could expect the price just to raise a little bit more before it does a bit of a retracement. But 18%, of course, doesn't mean that it's going to make a massive move to the downside. So you could only like, be modest with it, try and get in there, don't do a whole round trip, for instance. But alternatively, if you do find any tokens that are in these corners and, for instance, have moved, yeah, you can actually click on it here, have actually had the largest movements. Sometimes you get them like over 100%, for instance. And if you do find any token that's moved the most and are in these overbought or oversold regions, generally those are the ones that if you can catch that precise reversal moment, you are most likely to get quite a long ride. So yeah, that's what I've learned so far and I've understood, even though, like I said, the tokens do kind of end up here. It doesn't necessarily mean that these ones in the middle are less valid, for instance, because if you had to look at, the percentage of how much they've risen and, even if they were at say 50%, to actually take this, mark it out, look for those key levels and wait for it to actually reach that 1 hour RSI where it's within 90s, you're most likely to get a really, really good reversal movement as well. So far, that's what I've actually picked up. It's changed a little bit since I've been using it. Every week I learn a bit more. Of course, like anything, the more and more you use something, the more it makes sense. The swing point detection. So what this does based on SMC, it actually identifies candle 2, for instance. You'll see candle 2. It identifies swing points. So if it marks out the swing point there, and then the next candle, candle 3, obviously is a failure to displace, shows that the price now is obviously reversing in some direction. So you could actually look to potentially catching a continuation, for instance, in these criteria. For me personally, I actually, this is a great tool. It really depends on your style, but I do prefer to use, based on what I'm looking for. I like to trade from the outsides in, or obviously from extreme resistance 3 or support 3 levels. Then you've got your token watch list. So this is a new addition that we've put in, because obviously you've only got your top 42 coins. It started becoming difficult, obviously, if you're trading certain individual tokens, say if you stay with one, and then you couldn't actually get any data on it unless it, made a big movement. So we went ahead and put a bit of development to it. And now, yeah, so like even for instance, if you had to work with the RSI heat map, if you, want to have a look at, say, 1 week movements, for instance, towns, obviously, if you have a look there, RSI 1 week is 15. So it means obviously potential for it to have a long road up. We could go, type that in, for instance, towns, have a look. And this RSI obviously is on the 1 hour, but it is showing a bullish divergence on a 1 day. And that's obviously because of the high time frame. So the cool thing about it is that it actually allows you to take these, tokens that you see, even though you only get the RSI, you can actually get all the rest of the information as well that are used by the Easy Algo tools. So a very, very awesome addition. I'm loving it personally, but yeah, I mean, each to their own. It really depends. Next, so basically here you've got your bias, which is all SMC. So your sweep, so your 1 hour sweep, 4 hour sweep, daily sweep, weekly sweep, and this is all based on the fact that SMC is, price always sweeps highs, lows. On the lower time frame, it sweeps the higher time frames basically. So the 1 hour will sweep a daily, for instance. So that's the logic behind it, and the R indicates that there's a reversal. So price would have swept and then is now underneath that sweep point, or C meaning continuation, it swept but is still above. So that's what that means. RSIs, of course, you can get your divergence. I like to, I really like to actually see these if I can. Like for instance, bearish on here. I like to make sure that it's great confidence for me. Some people use it, some people don't. But yeah, it pulls through any form of divergence based on a certain algorithm. Proximities, previous week high, previous week lows, previous day high, previous day lows, and also what is the other one it does? I don't think it is here. No. But yeah, so basically what it does, if it's green, it means it's nearing it. If it's orange, it means it's very close. And if it has no color, it means it's quite a distance to it. So that's obviously what the colors mean. Fair value gap obviously is quite obvious. You distance to the next fair value gap is 0.65% to daily fair value gap, and that's what the price would be. So if you trade, or if you're looking for a sweep inside fair value gaps with the SMC sweep close, if you do the sweep and then the drop of price and then CISD close, then obviously that could be an indication of an entry or price reversing. So that's what that's used for. And then, yeah, your monthly support and resistance. So this to me is probably one of the most highest. And here's, you can actually narrow them down, get your divergence, you get your key levels. It basically pulls all this information. So here you've got, it's not even actually showing much, to be honest, that's quite strange. So yeah, but you can find tokens that are very close to your support resistance 1, 2, 3. I like to obviously find the most extreme ones. But this is obviously what this criteria is. Anyhow, that's how this works. I just wanted to do a quick introduction to some of the members that haven't actually used this before. We have had quite a few new members join, so let me get going. So, I know that I'm not supposed to be doing anything beforehand or preparation, but sorry guys, I just can't help myself. The minute I sit in front of the computer, I just start marking TA, looking at it. It's just what I do. It's part of my fun. But I put Aster here purely because actually Futures loves Aster. He's gone to bed and I said, I'm going to make sure I catch it and show him I caught it. But yeah, I didn't put it off here, to be honest, but here we go. We've got Aster over here. So what I do, copy, paste. I don't know if I've actually put it in here or not yet. Let's have a look. I haven't yet. So let's have a look to see what this is doing. So we've got a small fair value gap here. Let me just expand it. It's a 4-hour fair value gap. There were no other forms of fair value gaps that I found. You can see actually only a year price was claimed. Let's do weekly quickly. Yeah, there's no fair value gaps in weekly. So have a look just on the daily while I set our market. So yeah, basically what I do, for those who don't know, I first of all go and try to see what key levels I can find and just see which ones like stack on top of each other, which ones look, interesting or area of interest. So yeah, you got the fair value gap, you got your weekly resistance too, and then a daily opposing just below it, just above it. Aster, let me see the price quickly. It's under 67, so it means there's still quite a bit of movement or potential for it to move. So what I've found so far, and I don't know if anyone's actually been watching some of the entries that I've been posting. I've actually been doing pretty well with the new strategy that I'm checking out. Um, I use the sweep methodology, the key levels, and SMC for bias and Trendix and so on. I just don't follow the rules, if you will. I'm looking to enter rather at that sweep level. So whenever price seems to get, into the 90s with the 1 hour RSI, especially if there's been a lot of movement in the actual token and there's key levels where it's actually going to be sweeping. I watch those. I watch what it does in those key levels very, very intently. So if you see like a lot of volatility and then it moves and sweeps and price drops, immediately I enter. So this is my current strategy that I'm doing. I enter, but at the same time, I put a stop loss. So my stop loss is really, really minute. And for instance, if it does tap me out, then it just means that I'd looked for it, the same thing on a higher level. Obviously, the higher and higher it goes, the more potential for it to actually drop. So I generally like my worst kind of stop loss is like maybe 5% if I'm doing a 20x. That's actually why I'm doing like high leverage. High leverage is very, very difficult to trade, with the standard SMC X CISD levels to get that confirmation because you're generally trading a very, very big wick. So it can, be a little bit more devastating. So basically, all I've done is I've kind of tried to, find a way to eliminate that, and obviously just, if I enter 3 or 4 times into a token where I can get all those criteria, say it sweeps this, drops, but then continues, sweeps again, then drops, and I get tapped out twice. I've lost perhaps maybe 10%, but eventually once I've grabbed it and the continuation, as it goes to the downside, I mean, my wins are always over 200%. So this last week, I think over the last 7 days, I did about 2,000% in gains and probably about 250% in losses. So it seems to be working. Not perfected yet, not saying anyone should do it either. Just explaining, how it is. I am actually using it at the moment. But yeah, I mean, the tools themselves obviously just give you all the levels, the key, and actually to identify what's happening at any time. Okay, so A-step. 67, I assume this one's obviously going to start. It'll all pass here, probably retrace a little bit here, but I think it's probably going to start hitting this level over here. So I'll put a price alert, and I want to make sure I catch this one for futures. But yeah, it wasn't a direct one from EAX. Then we've got FF. So this one was, let me just refresh here. So I haven't moved up. 75. Yeah, it's moving up a bit. Let's see the other one. Okay, so this one's not showing any divergence at the moment, which is generally something I like to look for. But it's on an RSI 75. It's only moved 11%, so still a long way to grow. So look here. This one is a daily. See what else we can find here. Daily closing level. Yeah, so by the way, these marks that I'm doing here, opposing levels, generally they are liquidity levels. Okay, so looking closer, you've got weekly resistance 2, daily fair value gap, and then weekly resistance 3. So this is a very good indication of price potential. Let me just have a look at the RSI. And 75. So yeah, obviously just to see what the RSI is when it hits this region, could be a good sweep and retracement. So basically once it hits there, if I see the price drops, I'll enter. And you know, it's very often it's been working. Daily fair value gap, obviously above it as well, monthlies, and it's on a super narrow. Oh, double super narrow. So yeah, pivots, weekly, daily, above. So you can see price has expanded, it's hit your daily resistance 3 and previous week high. You can see obviously it's accumulating here. Fair value gap just below it, so it could actually just fall a little bit just to claim some of that. But my anticipation would be to see the price actually accumulate probably more of the liquidity in this, especially because there's two narrow pivots as well. So to set an alert here is what I will do. And yeah, if it drops below and you miss it, it's all good, you know, just you can't really force it. So this was on RSI and key level list. What was this? If it was here. So basically more, I like to look for tokens, obviously, that are in the top corners. To be honest with you, I really struggle with the lows. I've been applying myself quite a bit to try and catch them, you know, because I see Abdul does so well with them. And here we are always looking for the price to actually like stop, reverse so we can catch it. And he's making like 800,000% on it moving up. So I've tried, but the price works very different when it hits the lows compared to the highs. Once it hits the highs, it drops quick. Here it plays around a lot. So I still need to figure that one out. But yeah, it was picked up from here. As you can see, weekly pivots narrow. RSI is on 1 hours and 75. Fair value gap 9.83 to daily fair value gap. Weekly high on a reversal. Okay, let's have a look. What is it now? Let me just go back in. Obviously, because price now is underneath the previous week high. So when you get these pivots, especially when you got narrow pivots, you tend to always get the R3 that, you know, it hits. But when you got two sets, I always look to at least get the weekly resistance 2 levels. So over here, it looks obviously like it's wanting to drop. Perhaps it would, but I would actually be more interested to see the price rise a little bit here and possibly into this fair value gap based on this. And because the RSI is a bit low. Okay. Let's go back here. Sorry, it's actually so hot here. Cooking in this room. All right. Let's see what this one says. Let me just get a new block. So Zan has moved to 80%. It's all in continuations. So there's not much going, no divergence. But let's have a look at it in a high time frame because I have marked this already. So yeah, it's kind of bottomed out. Obviously, you're ready to go back up. On the weekly, massive fair value gaps. It has tapped and broken the weekly opposing level. As you can see there, it's above pivots. Okay, so that's a breakthrough. Let's have a look to see what else we can see. No fair value. So it's just this fair value gap, yeah. So daily opposing in the level inside the weekly fair value gap. So this one would be a strong confidence because it's got your resistance 3, your weekly resistance 3 level. So your weekly resistance 2 level. So any of this area would be of high interest. Let's have a look. See on the lower time frame. So yeah, you got your previous week high and your daily resistance 3. So all of these are very, very high areas of interest for sweep. Let me just check the RSI quickly again. It was on 80, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, I really like to actually make a plan where I don't use these things. Okay. So here you'll see this red line is your daily opposing level. You've got your weekly resistance 3 level, which is obviously a very strong area. Pivots within pivots are very strong as well. So generally you see a lot of expansion out of that as well. So I mean, the price has kind of been like melting a little bit, didn't really move too much. So I think price will expand quite a bit here. It will definitely sweep here. So even if you wanted to do a long at this point, I would be, comfortable with doing it, even though you got an RSI. You could definitely assume it will sweep that. But once it hits here, it'll probably do like a big move, AMD move, and that's what I would personally be looking for. So I've got to accept that that's my style. I'm better at it. I've got better success rate at it. What I got in when it shared around Abdul, you know what? You need to stop telling us this, and you need to start doing the sessions now because you just embarrass us all the time. Yeah, man. I don't know. I've really tried to get these longs, dude. I don't know. You're really good at it. It's definitely a different art. But yeah, so this would be a good sweep level. Previous week high, your daily R3 and your weekly R2, and it's inside of a fair value gap as well. So there's a lot of area and liquidity in this area. Over here, I'd watch this RSI as well. And just to see how price moves. And generally, like as it's moving here, it's gradually moving. So what you'll see, well, generally what I've noticed is that whenever it gets to an area that, it is ready to, how can I say, do a little bit of a grab, you can actually start to see how the price, especially on a 1 minute, and this is my thing, on a 1 minute, you actually start to see the price do this, like up and down, up and down, up and down, like it starts getting very, very volatile. That is a pure indication of, they're stepping in and now there's manipulation, and then just watch for the manipulation. And then even on a 1 minute, if you can get that manipulation and then like literally a candle close in the same regard and it sweeps an area, for me, that's a good entry. They always turn out good for me. I'm still obviously trying to perfect it. But yeah, I mean, for me, whenever it does that, especially when price hits and starts dropping, immediately I'll enter, put my stop loss. If it goes up, it will hit my stop loss, and then I'll watch it do the same thing again, and I'll enter. You just literally, even if it does hit your stop loss, you're pretty much just entering at a better price. I mean, that's pretty much this is actually something that I got from CryptoCrisp. And not to be afraid to have your stop loss hit, as long as it's small, and if you can hit 3 or 4 times and you're doing it 5%, even if it's 15% and you're doing 200%, you're still making 185%. So yeah, makes sense to me. But yeah, in this I would put an alert over here, and price will come back here. You will see it will reach when it starts doing this whole volatility. Watch when the sweep happens. Even if you want to try like the method like I mentioned, I'm not saying it's the way you should trade. Obviously, set is the the trainer and he's the master and he teaches you the right way to do things. I'm a little bit more of a cowboy, unfortunately. It's just who I am. I like the action, I like the risk, but at the same time, I'm trying to mitigate the ability to, well, I'm trying to mitigate the losses basically. But just being, like watching and actually catching it to a pinpoint. And I'm getting better, much better. I never actually understood how Crypto Crisp did it, but I do, I think. So yeah. Anyway, this have a look at this. Watch when it. Also, another thing I want to bring up that I've noticed personally is, for instance, you'll see price start dropping here. So this is on. If you have a look here, it's swept this weekly opposing level, right? And price will go up and then it'll drop. So what happens at these opposing levels? A lot of the time, and actually there's a daily and a monthly, a lot of the time there are limit orders at these positions. So price will come up and then obviously there'll be entry points. So the price does drop, but once it drops, obviously at that point it's filled the orders, and then a lot of the time I'll see that the price will rise. I wouldn't be comfortable enough in order to to enter at this position with these key levels right above it here, this fair value gap, as well as the RSI not being high. So this looks like it's going to be reversing. In my opinion, it's not. And if it does, it's not going to be a big move either. So just have a watch of this. I would only go anywhere here and then actually see and watch to see what it does at this point. Okie dokie. Let me move on to this one. I can't remember why I put this one here. Like I say, I actually come to do other work and I end up never doing it and just charting. For me, it's like therapeutic. Let's have a look to see on our time frame. Okay, weekly opposing. Okay, weekly value gap. That's dropped. Light it up. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to figure out. Chatting is addictive. You say I talk too much. Chat on TV. Yeah, I haven't chatted on TV either. Like you mean like a show host or something? NC, sorry, what NC to NXPC. NXPC. No, I know what he means. I'm just pulling his leg. 4% bullish, RSI 16. You know what? Don't know why I put this one here. Just forget that one. Okay, let's have a look sees. This banana 31 was awesome yesterday. Yeah, I think I took all TP at about 1,100 and I let it run. It went to 1,500 as well. But like so quick, man. It was again one of those situations where it literally like tapped, swept something, and then just dropped. I entered, my stop loss was literally like 3%. And again, a great example of why this, for me, I think in the long run is going to work better. Let's do Obol. 30 euro. But Oh. Okay, so I like when it starts showing divergence. Bearish, it's only done 14%. I actually have been watching this. I think I even traded this at one point. And I trade so many as well. I think I've got a problem. I actually just trade too much. And it's all because, like, with this EAX and the tools, it's just like endless opportunities. And it's like, oh, I can't let this go. But yeah, I mean, with over trading is not the greatest. Okay, here we go. Overall, so this looks like it's actually moving nicely. Let's have a look to see what it is doing. So it's actually still sweeping. Here's the top of the weekly fair value gap, which is good. Good a lot. Can't pull any daily out. It's yeah, you've got your R3, R2. Weekly, it's above pivots. So here's a potential, obviously, to sweep at this point, or literally grab here and then reverse. So this could be a very close one. It's on 71 now, though, verbal. So yeah, it could actually reach somewhere around here. Okay, so looking at it on a lower time frame, as you can see, price bounced off. It's on a weekly narrow, which is great. So generally, weekly super narrows, you can assume price wants to reach the weekly R2 and R3 levels. When it's a daily, you can assume price wants to reach the daily R3 levels. So this is just something that I've, personally noticed. But here's something even more interesting is that because you've got both, it's on top of both pivots, fair value gap, RSI is lower. This is very far compared to these two. So now when you get to resistance levels, resistance R3 for weekly and daily, to me, that's where it's going. And that's what I'd be looking for here, right at this position. And also just to be aware as well is that sometimes the price actually reaches just below and then drops. So it actually doesn't sweep. So you really got to be like on it, alert, and literally, I go into the 1 minute and I literally wait, and you can see when there's that volatility, the move and breaks down. So you've got to catch it. Literally, you've got to put the order in already and then just click go. So here's a very, very, very good range. It's already swept the previous week high, previous day high. Got your daily opposing, your weekly R2. So in my opinion, I'm going to actually just put alerts on just to see when it comes past there. Where did the card go? Let's take it again. Yeah, around about that region over there. Let's see. That's where I'd get it. It's 71 at the moment. I would expect it to go there. Cool. Let's have a look. What else? You know what? Sorry, guys. Just 1 second. Um, that pressure chord, I can't remember. Oh no, it is recording. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Futures actually forgot to record as well. It would have been terrible if you both did. Let's just do a bit of a refresh here. So this bearish with a 78 still going to tap and then come down. Let's have a look for something else today. Let's do, Zan's already and it's got a divergence, oval, banana 31. Yeah, this one's cross into, let's have a look at this. I don't usually do it this way, but I mean, it's what they're there for, so let's have a look. Yeah, and you know what the thing about the EAX as well, like, I mean, I don't force it. I pretty much just wait until, it gets into these high-end areas. And there's so many that end up there daily. Cross, 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 cross. I actually did a good trade on this one the other day. See, I've marked it out as well. I think I caught it here. Let's have a look. Mm, and the bills are going crazy there. So you've got an opposing level right by the weekly R2. Really fair value gap. Can't find anything else. And so yeah, here we go. Got a lot of interest. Let's have a look to see. It's underneath or in, it's actually in the weekly pivots. It's been very little movement on this one, obviously. But narrow pivots, probably going to projectile. Oops, sorry, the wind is so heavy. Definitely going to sweep this previous week high. Let's see. So here's a lot of area of interest in my opinion. So you've got although you've got your narrows and your R3 here, I think this, based on the actual movement, is going to definitely move a little bit more. So I think I look at it again. Here's a lot of interest for me. That's where I'd actually be looking to see if the price ever got today. So this would obviously be more of a long opportunity, if you would, but you never know actually for price to use will go a bit down as well. So if it sweeps there, for instance, it could obviously just go back to the narrows. So, and this is a bearish divergence, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 4 hour bearish. Yeah, I don't actually like doing these ones too much, to be honest. I was actually just trying to see if I could grab. But yeah, it doesn't work for me. Let's just kill this one. That's not nice. It's not a lekker one. Okay. I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to try and mark out a long opportunity. This yellow the other day looked so good, and man, still didn't catch it. 24 bullish. Okay, let's have a look at this. ERCL. There we go. So it's stipulating bullish, 15%, still obviously dropping at the moment. Let's have a look on the high time frame. Flanker is a bull divergence. It's sweeping the one. Okay, I'll have a look at that one now, Mateo. Let's have a look at this quickly on the weekly. So what we can do is here, mark out 50% wick. Yes, it's passed it already. Weekly R2, weekly R3 below. What's this? Mark that. I'm just going to mark out clinker. We're going to have a look at that now, right? Just want to see what I can. Obviously looking for liquidity here, but these support levels are very far spaced from each other. So whenever I see them very like, the spacing from them like far apart, they just seem less of a target for some reason. And this card is bullish. RSI 24, so it still has some more movement. So it's where previous day lows, so obviously we'll tap in there and come back down a little bit more as well. Like I said, with these ones, man, I'm really like, I'm so nervous. I've tried so many of them. But and they work very differently to the short say, sure. But I mean, I would set marker here, see what the price looks like, see what the RSI might be, and potentially what is the distance? Yeah, it's got a lot of movement to the upside. It's got lots of room to the upside here as well. So if you do manage to catch the reversal, obviously just to see where the trend breaks, you can get a break of a trend. Yeah, could be a potential long. Who's that? Doll's probably in this already. Yeah. Thank you. Let's have a look here. Okay. 35 RSL bullish. So it's still in continuation. The downside. A massive fair value gaps. Let's have a do on weekly. Yeah. Okay. So there will be a 50%. Your weekly are 2. Be the same. Be about that level as well. And just want to see. Okay. So you've got your 2 supports inside the fair value gap. So this would be my area of interest. where I would actually look personally. Mhm. So yeah, that's where I would look. And at that point, here's the card. Yeah, so 35. So it still has a bit more to drop as well. So I would definitely try and have a look more towards this region just to see at what it does at these positions. But it is indicating that it's intending to do a bullish divergence. So it is dropping off. Price will obviously have dropped it even more at that point, which means you'll have quite a good bounce as well. Yeah, this one's a good interest one. Nice. Okay. Is there any other token that maybe anyone wants to bring up? This one's nearing as well. No one else has a token, yeah? AVL's creeping up as well. Bearish, bullish divergence, very confused. 71. Let's have a look. That's been like massive movements. You can always do SERP. Is that 2Z? 2Z. Yeah. So like I said, I mean the EAX is great, but I mean you can't really force tokens to be where they're not. So sometimes when we do these sessions, there's just not many. And other times when I'm sitting in front of the computer, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's just so many. I always try and post them as well, but sometimes I post them and I actually miss out on the trade. Okay, bullish 37 RSI. Price hasn't moved quite a lot though, but I don't know whether that's just because it's been accumulated. Let's have a look. 2Z. Yeah, it's a bit of accumulation. That's why it hasn't picked up. Okay, let's see. Let's do the weekly. Come on here. Daily. Of course. So weekly, we've got massive bit of fair value gap here. Not big, but still one. There's a big one. Uh, weekly. Daily. See what's we got. Under the pivots. Yeah, it's still like it's looks like it's gonna drop more, but is this all-time low? The RSI 37, yeah, so it could still potentially drop lower. I would actually have a look around here as well. Or I would put anything in, but it's got, yeah, lots of liquidity. This one doesn't have too much to work off, unfortunately. Let's have a look. Yeah. So in pivots, so it's below pivots at the moment. So the previous day low. Yeah, you've got your R3. It's narrow pivots daily, so potential for price to actually reach here. That's what I would assume there. So have a look to see what it does at that point. Because I mean, price has been accumulating quite a bit, yeah. I think it'll actually go grab before it actually does any of this above. Cool. Zach. Not too much. I've worked with this before. Got your monthly R2 that it's swept, previous day low below. Let's just mark this out quickly. So much of old stuff here already. Start again. Okay, so pure reversal, fair value gap, small one over there. You've got your weekly closing. Okay, daily. So it's below pivots, actually underneath the resistance. Whenever you get closer. Daily opposing is crossing. So you got your previous week low, daily opposing crossing the daily R3. So this would be a very, very high area for a sweep, in my opinion. RSI 32, it's possible. It seems quite far there for that. But still more movement to the downside. How far? Obviously, I'm not very sure. But yeah, this one's definitely out of range for me. Anything I'd have to see it like reach these positions in order to do anything with it. Cool. Anyhow, guys, I've got to shoot. And I've got to go pick up my kids, unfortunately. But yeah, session was good.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before you go, the RSI. How do you determine the percentage for you to consider it in the range?
How do you determine the RSI?
The percentage that you look, is it up to 90%, 70% for you to consider it
Sorry,
something?
man, I'm not hearing you so well, mate. Just hold on one sec.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Hold on.
So you're
Wait,
asking about how do I determine the RSI?
hold on. Let me put on my. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Better.
Yeah, just give me 1 second, Jim. So ask me again, sorry.
Yeah, I was saying the ISR. How do you determine at what percentage do you use to determine the level that you have to be chasing for a trade, like
Yeah,
90%,
well,
70%, or
generally the 1 hour RSI is the one I use in order to like, um, anticipate a move. So anything, 90 or I think 10, from either side is generally, so there's always a grab or a move in some direction. But
what do you mean? 9 and
Yeah.
10. I don't understand. 90 and 10. I don't get it.
So if you for instance you have a look at um, TDIX.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, for instance, you're looking at the 1 hour. You see where the price is, for instance, like over here now,
Mm.
right? There's an
Yeah.
RSI at 32 on the 1 hour.
Okay.
And if you're looking on the daily, for instance, their price right now is at 59. So it obviously just means when it's in a position of overbought or oversold, it's either very low, very high, and at some point obviously needs to look to reversing.
Okay.
Cool.
So at 1 hour, you would like to see it when it's around how many percent before you look for a trade?
Yeah, 90% generally. So I mean, even on the
90.
chart, it's always usually like quite high,
Okay.
like around here or
Okay.
very low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Sweet.
Armando, how are you doing, bro?
Huh?
How are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I just want to check if you ever gathered any data with regards to, when you go to coin class to compare what the RSI look like in other time frames.
Yeah.
Have you gathered any data to see where you're going to have most drop? Let's say if the daily is showing this or if the weekly is showing this at the same time before I was showing this. Have you gathered the data to see when the coin dropped, what was the because I always see you copy the other side information, put it on your chart. So have you got to a point where you get a data saying, oh, okay, so 90% or 50% of the time when I short or long a coin, when the other side of the daily and weekly and 4 hours showing to this percentage, it will drop or it will go high. Have you got that data yet or no?
Well, I mean, yeah, so you're right, obviously, because this only works on the 1 hour chart at the moment. So I do definitely, for instance, I have a look at like the 1 week
Mm.
or the 24 hour. And I also tried to see like overbought, oversold, for instance. But even here, when you have a look, like generally when you see tokens have like slowed down where it's got like one little tag
Mm.
following it, generally means it's stopped moving within that time frame. And then obviously if you scan over it, it'll show you all the different. So it's the same as like, catching a bias, a weekly sweep versus a daily sweep versus a 4 hour sweep versus a 1 hour sweep, Um, it works in the same kind of, to me, methodology. So, if price moves from highs to lows for liquidity, it does that through RSI as well as candle sweeps as well, But the one thing is that the 1 hour
Mm.
specifically, if it even if it, say the weekly RSI is on 22, for instance,
Yeah,
but the 1 hour is on 90, it will drop. It
replace. Yeah,
will.
okay.
It
So,
has to. It has to recover. So price can't just move unless it's completely being manipulated. It has to have a reason. You know what I mean? So it has to
yeah.
keep balancing and finding money all the way until eventually it reaches what it needs to. The beauty about that is obviously you can anticipate, based on where if it's on a very very high time frame, and um, you've got a lot of like percentage movement in the coin itself, and it's at a
Mhm.
very high RSI on a high time frame and on the 1 hour, then you can actually almost anticipate like you're going to get a massive move. So that's how I use it. And the cool thing about it now is that you can grab this, you can put this through, and then just put it into the search. That
You mean
help?
like drag and drop? Yeah.
What's that?
You mean like drag and drop, or you mean like typing it
Well, yeah,
like
I type it. So for instance,
oh on your chart? Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay,
yeah,
I see.
JST, I'll go here, I'll just do JST. And then at least I know like the RSI levels on those are high, but I'll only have the information based on the 1 hour here. But if I do know that the
Sometimes
RSI, Hmm?
do you know why it doesn't show that the bars on someone like Zek, for example, Zcas? Do you know what is the reason for that? Sometimes when it doesn't show the actual candles.
Sorry, man, I'm actually struggling to hear. I don't know why.
I mean,
Why?
like Zek, if you see Zek there,
Yep.
Zcas, do you know why it's not showing the candles?
It's because it's not indicating any form of sweep.
All right. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, so it's only when price actually sweeps a higher time frame. So even this is not a swing. This is actually a sweep and then continuation. That's why
Right.
you'll have
Right.
continuations. But price actually hasn't swept a high level. So yeah, basically it's in the middle.
Nice. Nice. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, all good. All
Great
right.
job, bro. Great job. Thank you.
All good, all good, all good. All right, guys. Thanks very
Thank you so
much.
much, man. Thank you
Yeah,
so
no
much.
stress. No stress. I'll catch you guys soon. Thanks. Have a
Yeah.
great day.
Okay, it's bye.
Cheers. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.